Tēnā koe e hoa, pai te kita ki a koe. Welcome to He Whare Mō Wai, our podcast about rangatahi and housing. If you could start by just introducing yourself and a bit about who you are.
Awe, a katangi te titi, katangi te kaka, katangi koe, ti hei mauri ora. Te mihi tuatai, te ato i ringo rawa, nōna nei o ngā mea katoa i tēnā koe. Ai te whare tū mai nei, te whare iti, tūtonu tēnā koe. Ai papa tūnuku, takoto ki waho, takoto tēnā koe. Ai ngā mate, ai ngā tini aitua. Ai riki hawaiki nui, hawaiki roa, hawaiki pā mau mau. Haere, haere atura. Ai te mihi turua, kia koe, e hoa. Ai, ka nui te mihi kia koe, i harikoa au, ka kite kia koe, ki te kōrero mō tēnei kaupapa whakahirahira. Nā reira, ka nui te mihi kia koe. Ai, ko wai au, ko wali me tōku ingoa, he uri a hau, no Ngāti Kaungunu, Ngāti Rongo mai wahine, Ngāti Raukawarangi, tāne me maupoko hoki. He kai hoa whenua au. E te pake au, e raro i te mato rongo kako, engari e noho ana au ki tamaki makaurau nāia nei. No reira, nau mai, hara mai, tōku whare iti, kia ora. So yeah, lovely to be here e hoa, to have a kōrero with you about this awesome kaupapa. So yeah, guess my mahi, I'm a landscape architect here in Tāmaki. I've been working at a firm called Boffa Miskel for 4.5 years now. And it's been an awesome space to work in and really explore what it means to be, I guess, a landscape architect. So what a landscape architect is. My whakaaro on what I do is how we work, design, connect back to the whenua. That's how I perceive what I do for my mahi, through education as well. But also how we can bring design and that into our spaces that reflect our faces within those places. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. And so can you tell us a little bit about your background, where you grew up, and how you ended up here in Tāmaki?
Pai. So I was born and raised in Ahuriri, Hira-Taunga. Our families, only 20 k's apart, but we lived in that area. And then did all my studies there. Did all my schooling there. And then when I left high school, I moved to Whanganui-a-Tara to undertake my studies in architecture down in Victoria. So 3 years there, 3 years BA, and then my masters in landscape architecture. So 5 years all up in Wellington, and it's been an interesting ride. And then obviously have moved up to Tāmaki in 2018 and started my mahi here. So pretty much finished my studies. I did a bit of stint in research. And then once that finished, pretty much moved up here. So, it's been, 10 years now since I've pretty much left home. And that's pretty, I was talking to whānau, and that's, pretty much been half my life I've been away from home. And, I miss home, but, you kind of go where the mahi is. But I know that, when I go home, that'll always be my home. So, it's a bit of, where I'm from, I guess, what I've done. My studies, and then where I am currently. So
so do you have any or many whānau here? I believe you live with your cousin here.
Yes.
Yep.
So before I moved here into our whare in the city, I've been living with whānau down in Pukekohe. So the past 3 years I've been living there, commuting into the city for mahi, commuting back. And there are only other family that live away from Ahuriri, Hira-Taunga. And so I'm sort of the next one. Well, I'm the only other one to move away from home, from our wider whānau, so my aunties, uncles, all my cousins. And now my Taina here, he's with me. He's sort of the next one to follow. So, and, I look back to my kaumatua, my kuia. They were from a generation that, with the whole urban Māori shift, they were part of that movement. So, I'm kind of following in their footsteps. My koro was a station master at various, for the NZ Railways, at various locations. So he was based in Palmerston, Nuhaka, Kawakawa, and now settled back home in Napier. And yeah, our whānau's just remained there. Just the mahi was there, and so I'm kind of that next one to move, and it's been an awesome journey, awesome ride, and who knows where I'm to next. So yeah.
So what's it been like? How did you adjust to leaving home and being away from home, and how have you kind of set up home here?
Yeah.
Based on kind of the way you were brought up.
I guess the whole adjustment shift has been for me a bit of a journey. So back in 2009 I lost my papa, so there was just my mum and my two sisters, and we struggled. We moved in with our nan and koro. They took care of us, and I would have been year 10, probably 14 when my father died. So it's been interesting from that perspective. Having the wider whānau support there too, and just whole adjustment. I think that's kind of been one of the things that has supported me, is that having my whānau right there to support me, and obviously that transition from obviously leaving home, that was a big thing. I probably can't many times be on the phone, whānau, my mum's, I don't want to be here in Wellington, when I was in my studies, crying, and but you just learn to adjust for my own well-being, and I guess for them to support me during that. Obviously as a student, there's only so much particularly even in Wellington, trying to afford things, and that I certainly thank my mum and my sisters, my two older sisters, for supporting me through. And I think that whole adjustment, has been really a really interesting kind of space to kind of navigate. And then just obviously that adjustment to here to Tamaki. I guess it was much easier, that transition, obviously, because having whānau here, based here, I think that whole having that support system has been key. And now there's adjustment moving into the city, kind of that independency. So I've just learned to adjust to, what current times, where I am. So, yeah.
And so this whare that you're in now, right in the middle of the city, little apartment, not what we're used to as Māori, especially if we've moved to the city from home. And with your cousin, so this is the first kind of home or whare that's been yours, that you've been able to set up as what you would like a home to sort of feel like.
Yeah, it has been. Well, when I was down at Victoria, the first years, you're in your student halls, and then second year, I went up flatting with a few mates, but in terms of, I guess, my sense of home, that didn't feel right. But after that, I was just living by myself independently, and I had my own little studio, and that was great, I guess, in terms of how I like things, and my own space, and for us as Māori, they like to come down and see you. It's like you have your mattresses lying around, so I could fit all my whānau in that little studio. Surprisingly, there were like 8 of us in there one time. So, and even being here, now, being able to just have my own little space, to do that, and as much as living with my whānau pasi, it's been awesome. But these times where you do need your own space, and I guess near the end, it's kind of, and I don't think. Obviously, past couple of years, COVID and everything, it's been a real challenge for everyone. But now, we're getting out there more, we're able to, get out of go beyond now. And, so it's been really nice just to have my own little space away from home. And, I'll always have my home back in Hawke's Bay. I consider my nan and koro's home my kaingatahi. We've had that home for nearly 50 years, so and that's my marae. Unfortunately, we didn't grow up as pa kids. you know, we didn't grow up learning reo and all of that. But yeah, having our nan and koro's home was always our safe haven, our safe space, our whare mōwai. So yeah, that's my kaingatai. And obviously there's my parents' home we still have. And then this space too. So yeah, it's a nice little space away from home. Yeah.
So something I noticed as soon as we walked in today was like the mattresses behind the couch, the tea and coffee set up, the raku everywhere. And, you know, my first instinct is, oh, we're in a Māori home. So, yeah, what is that? What's that about and what does that mean to you?
I can probably take that learning from my nan and koro. You know, they would always, manaaki whānau, wherever you come from, friends who ever come out, they would always do that. And, you know, we just learned from them that, you know, and even when you came through here, you know, you took your shoes off at the door. You know, we do that too. You know, we just, you know, Maoris, we walk around here in bare feet. So, you know, but yeah, you know, that's just our, you know, our way of life. You know, we know that stuff, you know, tea, coffee, you know, spaces. So yeah, you know, it's, for us, it's normal. And, you know, so yeah.
And like, no matter how big or small your whare.
No matter how big or small. I mean,
space.
yeah, there's only two of me and my cousin, but we've got 3 guitars, like, you know. What's the extra one for? Like, house party.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, mattresses, yeah, you know, you got to when whānau comes. Yeah, so.
Yeah, you always make room.
You always make room.
Yeah.
Or you adjust to the space. Because when we moved in here, you know, we came here fully furnished. But, you know, things we bought, like, you know, these seats and, you know, a few other things just to make it homely. Yeah. So, you know, you just adjust to the space, you know. But yeah, like you say, you know, we still, all that normal stuff, You know, tea, coffee, how we manaaki,
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to come back to this kind of idea of home, but first I want to sort of dive in a bit about your mahi. So why landscape architecture? What got you interested in that as a young person? That wasn't always what I wanted to do. Like living in Napier, Hawke's Bay, you know, it's Art Deco City. I was always fascinated by architecture firstly. And it wasn't until I got to, you know, Victoria, and in your first year you get to kind of test and, you know, understand, you know, the different areas, whether it be architecture, interior, landscape, or building science. So, you know, you go through, kind of getting an understanding of all of those. And I guess I lean more towards landscape architecture in terms of, I guess, my values and kind of the mahi that it provides. You know, I look at my nan and koro, you know, they, you know, our whānau, you know, worked the whenua, you know, when they were young, you know, before they moved around. So yeah, there was just that connection to whenua, I think, for me, that kept me grounded, and I guess that kind of prompted me to lean towards that in terms of explore, you know, how design, how our rootedness to the whenua can inform the spaces that we inhabit. And you know, it's kind of certainly been interesting. You know, I'm only one of 50 LA's Māori here in Aotearoa and across Te Ao. And, you know, even now, you know, we're still getting small numbers through, coming through. But it's been interesting, I guess, for me to be able to kind of challenge and test those spaces. I mean, I look at some of our tuakana in the space that I work in, and, you know, it's kind of just the now. We're sort of in the now moment where, you know, we are making those big shifts, those big changes. With a lot of things, certainly, you know, we know how institutes work. But yeah, I guess, you know, I love my mahi that I do, and particularly working with our whānau, our iwi, our hapu. And, you know, what a great place, I think, to test and explore that then here in Tāmaki, you know, 90 mana whenua. You know, that in itself is unique. So being able to, you know, work with them, understand their pūrākau, their kōrero, their values, you know, their mamae, and how we can support them with that integration of their faces within these spaces. So I think that's been a blessing for me, is actually being here in Tāmaki, being based here in Tāmaki, working in Tāmaki, working with our mana whenua, and actually seeing how we can work with our other iwi hapu around the motu, and exploring, how we
reshape our spaces.
And so you're working at Boffamusco, which is one of the, if not the biggest and top landscape companies in the country. So what are some of the, if you can talk a little bit more about some of the projects you've been able to work on, and you talk about this, I think it's really important, this idea of seeing ourselves in our spaces, in our public spaces. So, you know, we'll talk a little bit more about some of those projects.
Yeah, so, certainly our firm has been around for 50 years now. This will be its 50th year, and, you know, even in our firm there's 3 Māori, LA Māori.
Out of how many?
LA's is probably about 100 plus, 100, but, you know, I think, and even to state that we're probably the biggest with, you know, amount of Māori within our industry, in our office. But yeah, I guess, you know, some of the mahi, I probably won't go into too much detail just in terms of, you know, respecting, you know, clients, you know, but yeah, you know, some of the mahi I've been involved with has been, you know, working directly with, you know, hapu and whānau right across the motu. So, you know, here in Tāmaki, working with, you know, all the mana whenua here, developing, you know, their spaces, you know, from parks to streets, even guidelines, reports, developments, and, you know, even down in, I've got a bit of mahi down in Wairarapa at the moment, working with my own whānau down there. And again, it's really that face-to-face interaction for me, really listening and learning from our whānau, you know, their kōrero, and how we interpret that in our spaces. And, you know, such beautiful taonga kōrero that they have, and how we can be, I guess, co-creators of, you know, of that. And so, you know, simple things as, you know, listen to the kōrero, how we interpret that within, you know, things like the pavement treatment, or how we incorporate that within, you know, the park space, like Burako and all of that. So, yeah, you know, it's those little things for me that, you know, has really, it really developed, really grown my own knowledge in that space, is, and how we interpret that through design.
So you talk about how there's so few landscape architects who are Māori. Considering that, you know, Māori have an intrinsic connection with the whenua, you'd think it would be quite a popular industry for Māori. How would you pitch landscape architecture to rangatahi?
Well, for me, it's certainly, you know, that connectedness to whenua. I think, understanding that whakapapa, and I think, you know, even I look at some of our Pākehā in our industry, they're really grasping with that whakapapa concept. And, you know, I've been fortunate to be able to teach some of our tauira coming through the universities. And it's really that grasped understanding of, you know, who we are, how we connect to our places, how we connect to the whenua, and how we can support it, whether it be through design, and in that manner. And I think for me, you know, what I would say to rangatei is, you know, this is an awesome space to work in. Any design space really, it's awesome. You know, I look at your mahi and architecture, you know, it's great, you know. And but again, I guess, for me it's, you know, that really connection for rangatei of to tauira, you know, would be that connection to whenua. Really grounding yourself. And how you can take, you know, that groundedness and really explore that through design and that, and you know, landscape architecture is quite broad in this sense. You know, you're not just confined to design. You know, you can assess the whenua, you can, you know, actually be hand in hand with the whenua. You know, we're quite broad. So you know, for me, for rangatahi, that would be you know, that passion for whenua is
So something that we've talked about a couple of times is this idea that, you know, you do everything right, you've got a degree, you've got a master's, you've got a good job, you've done all the things and gone through all the stages, and yet the kind of harsh reality of how expensive housing is and life is today, you still can't really achieve those housing kind of goals that were sort of set out when we were younger.
I mean, I always dreamed of having, the dream, like our parents would have grown up, the quarter acre dream and that. But, reality now, it's like, we got so much development happening, so much intensification. It's like, we can't really have that dream. So, yeah, you kind of adjust. So I guess my whakaaro away from home would be, I've enjoyed living in the city, close to the city. Even living in an apartment has been, really enjoyable. I mean, yeah, you may not have, the land out the back, but I guess, being in, this type of environment in apartment buildings, it's quite interesting, seeing that far, in this building we've got all sorts of people. We've got professionals, we've got whānau, we've even got a few, gang whānau downstairs. So, it's a real multi whānau space here. So, yeah, I guess for me, my guess vision for a home would be, yeah, I'm quite happy with, this something like this, a little whare, that's all I need. The basics, kitchen, little, open, it's great that we can have open space and plain living, bedroom, as long as there's the essentials, I'm happy, and I guess I just adjust with, the times and that, so, yeah.
Yeah. And I guess in other big cities, this is normal to live in an apartment, even with your whānau.
Yeah.
But as long as, we've got some nice urban spaces and parks that are being designed by Bofema School.
Yeah. Well, we're fortunate, where we are, just down the road here, we've got Queen Vic Park. So, if we need there's playgrounds on there, take whānau, we just go there or go to the waterfront, walk along the waterfront. So, it's not like we're, not in the middle of nowhere with no spaces, play spaces or anything like that. But, as long as there's, you're in close proximity to things like that,
And so something we've discussed is this idea of, as Māori, education is, really important, or not just for Māori, but we're told by our whānau and our parents, education's the way, and you've got a degree, you've got your masters, and yet still housing is unaffordable. Yeah. How do you feel about that kind of, you've done everything right, and yet still can't. Yeah.
2 steps is 1 step back. It's interesting. I can think of, my parents and my grandparents' generation, they could buy a home for, I think Anena Koro bought their home for $20,000. And then, I look at my parents, they bought their first home at $200,000. And that's, a new, at the time, new 4-bedroom home, built. So, and, you look at the reality now, like, what, $1 million we're knocking on here is the average house price. And, even apartments like these can go for $500,000. So, reality, well, for me, I'm sitting on any time soon to, afford to buy. And obviously, there's all these, with banks, the certain threshold you have to meet, 20%, deposit, reality. And then obviously the cost of living has gone up, everything's going up. And, it's like, how can you really save? How can you really afford to buy, homes? And so, next best thing, obviously, I was fortunate, be living with whānau. So, I was able to save and, put some more money into my deposit. But even now, it's still, still low, well, in terms of, that threshold. But it's, you kind of just got to deal with what is. So,
And that's it. So this kind of harsh reality. Has it made you think differently about what your sort of future housing aspirations are?
Yeah, it definitely has. I've heard my sister, she's got her second whare now. So, and because she, certainly within our urban, bigger, cities that, obviously the price is going to be bigger. Back home, obviously, they can afford to buy a second home. So, there has been times like, I know the whānau like, you should just come back home. And, I've been tempted to go back home. But But again, you know, you kind of got to go where the mahi is, and unfortunately, mahi's not there yet. But, you know, and that's my reality, hopefully one day, is to, hopefully move back home. Hopefully not too early. But yeah, in terms, you know, I just got to adjust really in terms of, But it's, you know, being able to move and, you know, like just in a short period of time, obviously, you know, 4.5 years here now. You know, who knows where I might be next year or the year after. So, you know, I don't want to kind of put my stake in the ground and, you know, I want to buy this. So, yeah, it's interesting. So
there's something there about being able to have the flexibility of where you might end up in the next 5-10 years. Cool. I think one more question I want to ask is, for you, what does home mean to you?
What does home mean to me? Well, my home is whānau. That's what's most important to me. You know, 4 walls, you know, that makes a home. Well, you know, from that perspective, but for me, a home is, my whānau. I can go anywhere and know that, you know, I'm safe in there. They're safe with me, I'm safe with them. So, you know, and like I said, you know, my home is back at my nan and koro's. That will always be home. You know, sadly, we lost our koro this year. And so, you know, it's a bit mamae at the moment, seeing my nan and koro's whare empty. No one there. But yeah, that will always be my home. And yeah, you know, the whānau, that's where we were all born, you know. 9 children, 30 moko, 25 great moko now. So yeah, that will always be home, and that's my whānau. So yeah.
Oh, ngā mihi nui ki a koe. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your kōrero with us this morning. And all the best with the future, whatever it holds.
Kia ora hua. No, thank you. It's been awesome to have this kōrero. So. Awesome.
We hope you enjoyed that episode. Just a disclaimer from us. We are no housing experts. However, we are passionate about supporting rangatahi to secure safe, adequate and healthy homes.